Hey everybody, welcome to this post. Hello everybody, I am getting ready to do a Space Fan News on this dark and stormy night. There's a thunderstorm running through, so you might hear lightning and thunder. And while I'm waiting for it to pass, I thought I would make a post for my Patreon patrons. Now, I have been thinking, as we all have, about the solar eclipse coming up next week, and one of the things I was wondering was, what do flat earthers think is going to happen on Monday? I mean, I got to thinking, well, if they believe in the flat Earth, what would a solar eclipse look like, and how would they explain it? So I went about, did what most people do. I went on YouTube and I typed in flat Earth, great eclipse, or solar eclipse 2017, and I looked at the first few videos that came up, and 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 what I saw. Okay, so I watched the first ones that came up, and there seemed to be two main concerns here. The first one was that, well, how can the shadow of the moon go from the west coast of the United States to the east coast of the United States if, as we all know, the sun, the moon, the planets, the stars all rise in the east and set in the west? How is it that the shadow of the moon is going from the west to the east? What's going on here? Now, to be fair, that question confused me the first time I encountered it several years ago. I wondered the same thing, and then I learned about, what was causing it. There was, that there is an eastward component to the lunar motion, and the moon is traveling from west to east around the Earth in the same direction as the Earth's rotation, and so it shows up during an eclipse as westward or eastward motion from west to east. And so, but it does take some visualizing to get that idea down. And so I made a couple of videos about it. I made two Your Sky Tonights. I posted one last Sunday and another one just last night. One of them using the Worldwide Telescope, where I tried to give the point of view from over the Earth and actually watch what the moon's doing. And the one, but that seemed to cause some confusion. And so I did another one using stellarium, and I posted that one last night, and they are, getting attention, of course. Of course, the flat earthers found it and engaged with me on it, and I'll get back to that in a minute. But the second thing that they were concerned about when I did my research on what do flat earthers think will happen during the solar eclipse, the second thing that seemed to bother them a lot was the fact that they could not get the shadow of the moon to be smaller than the moon. And I gotta give them credit. They were actually doing experiments. They were really trying to figure out how is it that the moon shadow can't be made smaller than the moon using their experiments. And so what they would do is they'd get a golf ball and they'd get a flashlight and they would shine it against a wall. And no matter what they did, no matter how they moved it back and forth, or how big of a flashlight they used, or how small of a golf ball, they simply couldn't get the shadow of the golf ball to be smaller than the golf ball. And so they were calling bullshit on that to NASA. Why NASA is responsible for it, I'm not quite sure. But they were really angry at NASA about this. And so it occurred to me, well, and I, like I said, I give them credit for trying to do the experiments themselves. They were trying to really answer the question in a way that made sense. None of the answers really, really, made them feel better. So, of course, the answer to the problem is that the flashlight they're using is a collimated beam of light, and it's small, and it will, of course, make the shadow larger since it's a collimated beam. What they should have done in their experiment was to put a diffuse piece of paper in front of their flashlight, and it would have acted more like the sun, and sure enough, they would have gotten a smaller shadow. And of course, when they were confronted with that, they posted another video on this that said, oh, come on, the sun is a diffuse source of light? I mean, that's just nonsense. And actually it isn't, because it's a huge, enormous sphere, millions of miles across, much, much larger than the Earth and the moon. And every little point on the surface of the sun is radiating light in all directions. So yes, it is actually a diffuse source of light. So if you took any kind of diffuser and shone it at a golf ball, you would have gotten a shadow smaller than the golf ball. So those were the two big things that they were concerned about, but I still didn't see a prediction of what they thought would happen during the eclipse. If the Earth is flat, and if the sun and the moon are doing this circle over the disk of or the flat disk of the Earth, an infinite plane they call it, of the Earth, then what would we expect to see during an eclipse? And I couldn't find a prediction, and I didn't. Admittedly, this was tiresome research, so I didn't go super into it. Um, but I made my own prediction. If what they say is true, then what should happen during the eclipse on Monday is that the shadow of the moon should be much larger than what we're saying that NASA, it's always NASA, that's saying it would be. And so I think they're predicting a larger shadow. That's what I think they're going to see. What they think they should see if they're right. They're not really getting into what supports their theory as much as they are knocking down current theories, and that is, as we all know, a little bit problematic. Now I know what you're saying, and I don't blame you, but you're now asking the obvious question, Tony, what in the hell are you doing interacting with flat earthers? And what do you even care what they think? And I actually do. I am really interested in the idea of how is it possible and how is it so easy for so many people to buy into pseudoscience? It is extremely easy for someone to believe something that is not true than something that is. And that question interests me a lot because I am a science communicator. I want to communicate the advances and the discoveries of science and technology, and I can't do that if people are willing to believe things like this. So I want to know why they believe those things, and I'll get to this in more video posts because this is, and I've got a hangout coming up on this on September 8th with a man where we're going to talk about this idea of scientism, and I want you to look it up. But I believe that a lot of these people, if you look at flat earthers, they all share a very large distrust of scientists, and of course they distrust the government as well. They just don't trust any forms of authority, and they're a bit disingenuous, I give you that. You can't have a direct conversation with them if they've got an agenda where the government is lying to you and you can't believe anything because you're a sheeple and won't believe the truth, whatever that is, which is ill-defined coming from them because I can't figure out what their truth really is, except beyond a few diagrams and vague statements. So there is a big distrust, but I believe that the way to talk to these people about what's going on with science isn't to get angry and to scream at them and to do what people like Phil Plait or Thunderfoot or Bill Nye, all of these people just, they're so heavily into this, well, if you don't believe this then you're an idiot sort of mantra, then of course it's going to irritate them and turn them off. And so I want to try and figure out how can I engage and talk to these people in a way that they will listen. And I'm trying this, and I did it in the comment section of the first video I posted on Sunday. If you want to go check out the comments, I actually engaged in a couple of them seriously and honestly, and they listened. We talked. Now I got a little irritated just now, and I made a snarky comment to one person who showed up on the video just tonight, which I may delete that comment in a minute, but it made me feel good to do it, so I left it there. So that's why I'm engaging. I will talk more about this to you guys because I like this forum. I like this area where I can post a video to my Patreon patrons because I feel like it's kind of a safe area. I can say what my opinions are without the general public. I feel like we're more or less a kindred spirit. And if you agree with me, then by all means, leave some comments in the Patreon post. This is an unlisted video. And then we'll talk more about it and we'll engage. So anyway, I'm getting ready to do Spaceman News. The storm looks like it's passed. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll check you next week. I'll try to do this every week. I'll try to add some new content that is only available to you guys. Thank you all for your support. You're why I'm able to keep doing this. So thank you so much. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.